Joining me now is the CEO of Jack Brewer Foundation, Jack Brewer. Jack, I think she nailed it. I think the country was realizing that a decision made almost 50 years ago needs to be changed because of what states have been doing. Essentially, because science has improved, medicine has improved, we were approving of an infanticide, and Americans largely across the board are saying, no, we can't accept infanticide.
That's right. It's unbelievable just to hear you say that. You know, it really is government-led spiritual suicide, basically setting the righteousness for an entire nation based upon these demonic ideals. And you're right. I mean, over 50 years of this mass abortion, I think 70 million plus babies killed, and it affects our most vulnerable. I mean, it's just preying on, particularly young black women who I think make up almost 45% of all abortions. I mean, it just really is a sad deal. But thank God that righteousness is on the side of America. I think this is going to start a revival. Just so happy and proud to see what really God has done. And when you start to look back and to see how fast it's happened, I mean, think about it. 5 or 10 years ago, it didn't look very good for the pro-life movement. But now, all of a sudden, after President Trump's appointees, this nation is changing in many ways. You know,
she went even further. Winsome Sears did. At one point, she said, imagine, and you can imagine, the KKK back in the 1800s suggesting that black babies should be killed in order to reduce the population of blacks in the United States. That sounds like a scenario you might have heard from coming out of the KKK. That's essentially what is happening when you take into account where medicine has become, and how because blacks generally get more abortions than whites percentage-wise. This is like, because you're in some cases killing babies that could survive outside the womb. This is an attack directly on that vulnerable population.
It really is, and at the root, this is where it comes from Margaret Sanger, who spoke in front of the KKK and had meetings with them.
She was the founder of Planned Parenthood that does most of the abortions in America. Go ahead.
Exactly. And, this is the spirit in which this mass abortion movement came from. And unfortunately, back in those days, she was able to confuse and get some of the leaders in the black community to also support these abortions. And all of a sudden, you're tying it to poverty and economic status and allowing that to determine whether someone's worthy of living. I mean, just think about that. Just because a child is raised in poverty. I mean, my mom got pregnant on welfare and was on WIC to raise my sister. And so what are you telling me, that my sister shouldn't have been born because my mom was young and my parents were poor? It's just unthinkable to imagine that our nation has really been hypnotized to believe these demonic things. We have so many examples of strong African American and people of all races who have uplifted themselves out of poverty. That's the reason why people want to come here from all over the world. And so it's just, it's one of those things, David, where it's time for a soul check. And I think this is the time.
All right. A soul check. I like that phrase. Jack Brewer, always a pleasure to see you, Jack. Really appreciate it. Stay with us. We'll be right back.